Plop. What's that say?
We're live.
Are we?
Are we live? I don't know if we're live yet. Are we live, Domenico?
Can't hear Domenico.
There's no intro. And we're live. It's Friday, it's 7 o'clock, and it's Craig and Jane live.
And I'm
Indeed.
live, Craig.
Yes.
Definitely
Hi there,
live.
everybody.
Hi.
Welcome again to our channel, and thanks for joining us. And tonight's topic is going to be about karma, what it is, and how we can get round it.
And
if we can
explain
get
what
round
the
it.
word karma means. It's an Indian Sanskrit.
Yeah, we'll give all that. We'll talk all about the types of karma. We're going to tell you all about I'll tell you all about that, and Jane's going to give her thoughts about what karma is and how you can perhaps change your karma and alter the path of your destiny. And yeah, it should be quite an interesting evening. Those of you that have got any thoughts about it, obviously put your comments below. And this is going to be one of the last broadcasts from here because we're getting very close to being open the new studio. So don't forget, join us, follow the channel, and you'll be able to see us in our whole new setting with our seance room and all sorts of interesting things that are going on. Things that only the patrons know about at the moment because it's on the patron channel. So Mimi Dom is saying, I'm looking forward to this one. Sorry, I can never join you too early in Australia. How weak I am.
Oh,
yeah, I know what it is. It's early. It's reasonably. I always get up at 4 o'clock.
It's
in the
a
morning,
man thing,
of
isn't
course,
it, Craig?
Yeah. So it's obviously it's 4 o'clock in the morning or something ridiculous over there. I'm an early riser, aren't I? And
you wish. I wish.
Nana's saying hello, everybody, just from Downbridge Road. That's just down the road. I get down the road. Cora saying hi. You're live. Are we? We are live.
Yes.
I think we went live a little bit early.
No,
there.
you're not, he says.
Oh, no, we're not live. Oh, we better shut up then. We'll have a rest. We'll carry on
CB
talking.
live.
Yeah,
we are
CB live. Yes. Hi there. I think we went live a little bit early there. I think Danielle pressed the button.
Yeah.
So we were talking about things we shouldn't have said. Good evening, everyone, to my two favourite souls. Love and hugs from Denmark.
Ah, hugs back to you too.
Yes, you need plenty of hugs there in Denmark after that terrible defeat at football. Italy will need them next. Hello there, Nicola Advocado. Hi there. Nice to see you again. And that was another shot of me there. You see, he put the other picture up. Alison saying good evening from Shaftesbury Town, Dorset.
Oh, yes. Yeah, lovely.
Nice down there in Shaftesbury. Indigo Knight saying hi, Craig and Jane. Intriguing topic tonight. Greetings from Gosport.
And greetings to Gosport.
Yes, and thank you for joining as a patron because I noticed you've joined as a patron, Indigo.
Thank you.
Always appreciated all of you that are helping us to move this forward. I'm excited for today's discussion, says Niccolo Avocado. Nice to see you in the sunroom.
You should see our other rooms. There's something. You should see our other rooms.
Yeah, I think we should have gone
Romans,
in the cooler.
I've got more than what they had on them, haven't I?
Yeah. Namaste, Craig and Jane from Newcastle on time. Funny how they say namaste in Newcastle. It must be a word that came from Newcastle, I reckon. Sorry, Elaine. Nice to see you, though. Kitty Whiskers are saying good evening from Manchester.
Perfect.
We're hoping to be up near you guys,
Perfect,
because we're going
Craig.
up to
Perfect.
the Peak District.
Yeah,
soon.
we're looking forward to
I'm
that.
watching from Sydney. Looking
Oh,
well, both of
gosh.
you. Oh, from Rita. Yes, another one from Australia, other side. I don't know. That might be even. That'd be earlier than the other side, wouldn't it? Sydney. Hello from Chicago, says Kit.
Hi,
Another
Kit.
one of our patrons. Thank you, Kit. You always ask some interesting questions on the Patreon channel and come up with some good ideas. So I've been asking some of you some ideas about the seance room and the things we're doing and the film ideas we've got there. So today's topic is the law of karma and how to change it.
Right.
So let me just tell them a little bit about what I know about karma, because if you don't mind, I'll just tell you a little bit about the basic concept of where karma comes from. So obviously, like Jane said, it's a Sanskrit word. And it comes from the Bhagavad Gita, which is a famous Indian book you've heard about. It's a discussion between Krishna and Arjuna. And it's one of the topics that comes up. Krishna tells him about life and how it works. And he talks about karma. So he divides karma into a number of different types. Now, we know about kind of like almost a Christian view of it, like as you sow, shall you reap, and things like that. So it's basically what you put out comes back again, right? So the Indian idea is that karma goes over many lifetimes. So there's karma that we're bringing forward and karma we've got and karma we're going to have. So basically there's this idea, first of all, the karma that's not hit us yet. This is called the sanchita karma. So this is like the karma that we've done in previous lives that we haven't even heard about yet, hasn't even touched us yet. So that's all to come, right? And they describe it, Krishna describes it like a bow, an arrow that's in the quiver. So that's the arrow that's in the quiver that's not been fired yet. And then there's the arrow about to be fired, right? So this is what's going to come into our life soon. This is where perhaps prediction comes in, when you see things. Perhaps that's what we see. Yeah. And this is called agami karma. So if I pronounce them slightly wrong, anyone, but agami karma, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is like the karma, good and bad. Karma's not just bad stuff. It's good and bad. The things, I suppose we could say, that are about to come into our life. Now, maybe we can do something about those things. And then there's the karma that we've got with us now, which is the prarabdha karma. This is the karma that is with us. This is all the stuff we're suffering, all the problems we got at the moment. So we got this karma that's unfolding itself now. And then we've got the karma that we're making as we're doing everything in life. We're creating good and bad karma all the time. And this is called the Kriya Man karma. This is the karma that we are generating now. So if I go in there and I give Jane's mum a punch in the face.
Gosh, that's awful.
I might get some bad karma. I'd probably get instant karma from Jane. But, we're doing good and bad things all the time. And sometimes some of it we're doing without even realizing we're doing karma. This is another interesting thought about karma. Is it just what we think about? But so we've got these 4 types of karma. So that, in an essence, is what karma's all about. Would you agree with that? Well, you don't matter agreeing, but
I believe in the Indian karma.
So what do you think of karma?
I think what you do on the earth plane is very important, and every act of kindness doesn't go unnoticed. And people like murderers and people that commit horrible things, they think they get away with it, but eventually karma catches up with them. It might take years and years, might take 20 years, but eventually it catches up with them.
And lifetimes.
Yes, many lifetimes.
You see, because this idea that karma is, because sometimes we don't even see the effects of karma. Some people get away with all sorts of bad stuff, and it appears that they're doing all sorts of terrible things, and nothing seems to come back to them.
People instantly want good karma, don't they? They don't realize they've got to earn good karma.
This is quite important, actually. Yes. It is, because there's a thing called, I think it's called akarmas, they call it, which is like the opposite to karmas. This is like what in the Nadis that I've talked about in the books like Messages from the Universe. This is where the remedies come in. Because if, for example, because we've got free will, we can do something about all these things. We have the choice all the time. So if we're doing a lot of good things all the time, it might sometimes appear that we're getting nothing good back from it. But what we might be doing is neutralizing all that bad karma that's coming into our life that actually didn't happen. Things that could have happened that didn't happen. I thought of it like this. Supposing you're crossing a road and almost get hit by a car. In that instant, which all of us have had something where it's been a skin of our teeth thing, we thought, my God, that could have brought completely different consequences. If our karma had been fractionally different, we could have been dead or disabled or terrible things. Everybody's life could have been completely turned upside down in that instant. Now, that kind of shows to me that the slightest change of karma could have stopped something really heavy coming into your life. So the good actions we're doing, the akarmas, these are the good actions that neutralize the negative stuff, might just hold all sorts of terrible things that could have happened in our lives at bay.
Well, what you give out comes back tenfold.
Yes, I suppose it does, really. I don't know whether the negative comes back more than the positive.
Well, as gurus say, it takes many incarnations for people to be in presence of a holy person.
Yeah, or in a human birth,
yes.
Come to that. Because the whole thing about karma is that it's kind of, it's influencing everything, both externally in the things that happen around us, and also internally. There's two types of karma divisions there as well. There's the external karma, which is events that happen to us, but also the karma that we carry within us that changes our way of seeing the world and our actions in the world. So this is another kind of area where perhaps we have a bit of control, because we'll talk a bit as we go through this about ways we can sort of change karma.
I know sometimes people say, do animals have karma? They must have.
Yes, and that actually brings it interesting to Nana's question, because she says, how does karma work when somebody is incapable of perceiving right and wrong in the first place? So like an animal,
well, you've got free will.
Right
you
and
have
wrong.
Free will, don't you? When you're born innocent and pure. And when you grow up, you can choose the wrong road or the right road, can't you? You've got a conscience.
Yeah, but Nana's saying that some people don't have that conscience, do they? There appears to be some people that we meet or
closed, very closed,
are completely amoral, for example.
Yes.
They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They might be the way they're wired. I mean, so it's an interesting thought. But I think, did you say about conscience?
Conscience.
Yeah, because conscience is like, we all have it. Everybody somewhere, buried somewhere in them, has a conscience. They kind of have an innate knowledge of what's right and wrong.
That's absolutely right.
And this is why I think the whole thing with karma, we have, so the Indian people sometimes can take a very fatalistic, some do, very fatalistic thing. Oh, it's in my karma, therefore I mustn't do anything about it. I must just accept it. And that's right up to a point. But also, we have the means to change things. And in particular, we have we've got the power to change our thoughts. Because, for example, we've got the power to move our attention. We whatever we focus our attention on grows in strength. Yeah, our attention on you grows in strength. But you know what I mean? It's like if we start focusing on negative things in life, or we keep focusing on positive things, it kind of attracts.
Yes. Laws of attraction.
I mean, it happens in everybody's life, doesn't it? I mean, I had a real bad day yesterday with BT trying to get an internet connection. Everybody has trouble with that. But it seems like every other little thing sort of mounts up on it, as if you've created that circumstance. It's created an energy where everything goes wrong. And I think we have obviously, as well as the karmic things changing in our life, we also have our will, our attention, and our decision on what we do about things.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
And don't you think karma, sometimes we're in the right place at the right time, and sometimes our karma's worked out from the people that come into our lives. Very important.
Could be that karma's all about putting us in the right place at the right time. A bit like the idea of the Tao in Taoism, that there's always a perfect point of perfect harmony in every possible circumstance. In every thing we experience, there's the enlightened state somewhere, and we can find that sort of center of gravity of existence. And that if we get our karma right, we might find ourselves always in the right place at the right time. Exactly.
Next question.
So Franco, I'm going off there. Franco is saying different traditions have different understandings of karma. That's true. Buddha said, volition is karma and karma is volition. I tell you, the Jains see karma as cause and effect.
It's true.
Yeah, but I suppose they all come from the basic similar source. Jainism and Buddhism is very much intertwined in many ways. I think Buddha, as I said before, I think Buddha was a Jain. You read so much, a Jain that followed the Hindu path at Varanasi actually and became perhaps an Agori yogi. But they're kind of reflections of a similar type of idea. I mean, it's in Christianity. I mean, as you sow, shall you reap. And I think in Joshua it says, we shall reap the fields that others have sown. So perhaps Jesus got it from a distortion of an old Jewish idea there. But this, and it also was in the ancient Greeks kind of referenced it quite a lot. And you can find references as if it was almost an unwritten law that good actions bring good results, bad actions bring bad results.
Yes, that's true.
How are hungry children deserving of poverty? Yeah, that's a good question, especially if the young are born pure. It seems very easy to say, well, it was their past lives that resulted in that. Hard for me to understand.
Well, I don't feel any child on God's earth should starve, and I think a lot of it's due to men, greed, corruption, cooperative companies, and that.
Mankind,
non-gender.
But yeah, it is. But like he's saying, that, you know, some children are born into poverty. You know, they're an innocent child.
Yeah, pure.
They're born into, like, you know, into.
It doesn't. But don't you find there's some children that are born into poverty and find life a struggle, and they turned out more enlightened than somebody that's born into a rich family?
Yeah, this is another point actually from it as well, because often what terrible things can beset one person and it can break them, and those same terrible events could have beset another person and it makes them. So the challenges we have in life are not, you know, not necessarily always the bad things. You know, some people, they say, for example, sometimes you could say the same thing, couldn't you, Nicola Avocado, about disabled people. You know, if a person's born disabled, does that mean they've had bad karma? Well, it might be, but at the same time, they might be getting the stronger lessons. They might be advanced pupils that can turn that around and turn it into something tremendous. For example, one of my best friends in the past, he was they called him a spastic in those days. It would be not politically correct to call them that now, but that's how he called himself. And I did a painting exhibition with him, and he was a great guy, you know, because he was full of creativity, had a great interest in music, and we did an exhibition of art together, including music and art, and it became very well acclaimed. It really went around the museums and all sorts. And he turned that around in his life and became a very happy soul. So it's not, we kind of judge good and bad in terms of what's out there.
Well, that comes across to me a person that's contented within.
I'd say it's a person that's very courageous and has turned bad into good.
Yeah. And because a lot of these people with these disabilities, they bring out compassion and love with others.
That's right. So we could say, yes, it's karma, but maybe that's the, you know, we're all dealt a set of cards and we got a good hand or a bad hand, and it's how we use it ultimately. I think it is karma, but, you know, that might not be the worst type of karma. Some other people's karma, when you've done studies of psychology, for example, people get more stress at what they lose than the pleasure they get at what they gain.
Giving.
Yeah. So when a person, if that was the case, it's probably better not to struggle at all, to be like the Simpsons, don't try, boy, you know, because it's only going to be taken away from you. So all of these things are part of the process of trying to learn, ultimately, to overcome good and bad. You know, the concept of karma is that it's a force for good, all of it, that pushes us towards enlightenment.
And have no fear and be positive in life.
Absolutely. Fearlessness.
Yeah, fearlessness
is one of those qualities.
And be very strong. Very strong. Because all of us were here passing through, paying ground rent one way or another on the planet, have we not?
Yeah, I think we've got, there's lots of qualities like fearlessness, truthfulness, love, purity of heart, compassion. Non-violence is another one. And all of these things are all qualities that can help us.
It doesn't
overcome
mean because
these
you're
crimes.
spiritual, you're a walkover at the same time.
No, of course not. No,
You've
a
got
spiritual person will be stronger.
realization.
Yeah.
Because life is an illusion.
Linda's saying, can bad karma be felt by someone as being cursed?
Only if they allow it.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Only if you allow it.
I expect from their point of view, though, it could feel that you're cursed. I know when you do readings for people, they often say, oh, everything goes wrong in my life. Everything goes wrong all the time. And everything I start goes wrong. And it does seem that way in their life. So what they've got to do is apply their karmas, like I talked about before. You've got to, if you're feeling that and you're stuck in a cycle of destruction.
That's conditioning yourself, though, isn't it?
Partly it's conditioning, but sometimes it happens because everything seems to go wrong for no reason. And it's partly psychological, partly conditioning, partly your energy, because as you think, so you
need non-attachment to it.
But also you can break it.
Non-attachment.
And the way you can break it is by doing the opposite, by doing good actions. Think good thoughts, do good actions. And like Niccolo Avocado said, he said about the poor, what we do is we feed the poor. That's right, one of the very, very powerful things that can transform your own personal karma. And you might not see the result because it might have just pushed away negative karma that was coming you didn't know about, like I said before. Or it might start to change that feeling of good and bad luck in your life.
Like kitty whiskers.
Kitty whiskers.
If a
Where
child,
do you get these usernames from?
I love it. If a child or adult, for that matter, is badly bullied, is that due to karma in a previous life? I don't think anyone should be bullied, whatever previous incarnations or this incarnations.
Yeah, it's still wrong, but perhaps, the people that we've had problems with in the past, we might have done to them, and they might come back and do it to us.
Like
and I think it comes like for like, because I think it comes back in equal measure, actually. The only thing that doesn't work in equal measure is the good you do, because I think ultimately we do more good than bad. And that is what helps the soul to transcend.
If somebody's been bullied, it makes awareness, doesn't it, that people are being bullied. That's why that action is wrong. So that action, we've got to turn it around. And perhaps those bullies really bullying others, very insecure people, envy.
Yeah, so all those negative thoughts, envy, jealousy, hatred, greed,
awful, isn't it?
All those dreadful things are bringing bad karma to the person that's doing it.
That's right.
So the person that's really losing out there is the bully, ultimately, because the bully's bringing it all back on himself, probably more, I said equal measure, but probably a little bit more than he'd done, because you sow as you reap. That's the idea. And you also, you like we were saying before, you also attract the very things that you are. You will also sometimes attract negative things, and even attract bullies sometimes. If you've got it might be a challenge to change the way you think, perhaps become stronger or more assertive. In Buddhism, karma is defined as the 5 points, I suppose. I have a lot of 5s in my birth chart. Oh, okay, the number 5. Okay. So I guess that I have to bring karma to those.
That's quite a spiritual number, 5.
I don't know that about
Buddha. 5 and 1.
The 5 in the Buddha. I don't know about that.
Yeah, very spiritual.
But that's interesting. A lot of 5s in your birth chart. In fact, the birth chart is actually a map of your karma, because what's in your birth chart is the print of where you were at the point you were born. So that is what your karmic passover from the previous life is showing. And actually a good astrologer, particularly Indian astrologers, know about how to sort of take those planets back a bit to see what you were in a previous life, by seeing where the karma went from those planets from previous life. So it not only looks forward, it looks backwards.
Yes.
So the birth chart's very interesting.
It begins with R, doesn't it? Raga?
I don't know the Indian terms
Raga.
I don't know the Indian term for looking back on a horoscope. Right. That's quite interesting.
More Nikocado. What about people who do good work and still end up suffering, feeding the poor, being compassionate, etc.? How can you prove their good deeds help to do their bad karma if their fate was still bad? Well, look at when we met the Dalai Lama. Somebody gave him 1 million £100. He laughed. He said, I've never had this amount of money to hold longer than this. But he said it goes from this hand to feed the poor, didn't he?
Yeah, so he was somebody that was completely compassionate. But again, the similar point to what he was making before, you know, it's basically asking, why do good people suffer?
Yes.
Because often you see really good people who suffer, and you think, well, how can there be a law of karma if that person who's doing nothing but good in their life?
Don't we believe you're meant to have a certain amount of suffering in this life to find the goodness, the honey and the nectar and the sweetness to help others?
Well, it's what I was saying about these karmas from previous life, you know, the sanchita karma and things like that. This karma that we have, you might be doing good now, but still the bad things are catching up with you. It's like, for example, someone in this life had done something terrible, murdered someone or something like that. Nobody found out, everything happened, and he carries on and changes his mind and starts to be a good person. But still, that negative karma that he did from before has to be worked out somewhere. You know,
lessons, they
the
call
Indian
it lessons.
system is not like the Christian one where you can suddenly be forgiven just like that.
How can you?
That karma's still got to work its way out. However, saying that, I would say that grace is also another force in life, that there's the divine grace that can wipe away karma. But it's not as easy as I think as some people seem to think. You know, you just believe in something and grace is yours and it's all taken away. You still have to work hard spiritually to clear the past karma. So how do you stop the bad karma?
By doing good actions.
Exactly. And also thinking good thoughts. And also that you can work, there's very, very powerful inner techniques that can also clear karma, that are purely almost practical techniques, in particular Kriya Yoga, which works by changing the energy in the spinal column, sometimes called Kundalini Yoga, but that can be a little bit, it's the prana, that prana life force in the body, because the spine contains all the memories of our previous lives. Now, it's not memories like I remember being, a king or a queen or something. It's the memories are just gone, but the residue of them there. It's like the last feeling is there in the spinal system. And by moving the light, as it were, of prana, using the breath up and down the spine, from the base of the spine into the third eye, and sometimes but higher up into the crown chakra, that will clear it. So there's techniques out there called Kriya, which will help to remove the karma within ourselves that we're carrying and get rid of some of that karma that hasn't started.
Also, very useful to do mantras.
Yeah, the mantras, if Jane prefers that description, they are also designed to resonate in such a way that they will clear again karmic forces in you and break up almost like the ice in the river until it flows again. And you see, we can consciously take control of our lives. You know, it's not a question of we are the victims of everything. You know, we all take this victim mentality that, you know, the world's against me. If you think about it in terms of karma, you think to yourself, it's all my fault. That's a better way of thinking about it. And I can also do something about it. And you can do something about it through your attitude of mind. You can do something about it through meditation. You can do something about it with these techniques I described, like mantras, like clearing the energy in the body. You can do it by good deeds. And also in the Nadis, it says other actions are very, very powerful. Planting trees is supposed to be another one that helps, because other people in the future will gain the benefit of it. So it's one of the things it said in the Bhagavad Gita is that in order to clear the karma, we must give up the fruits. We must give up the fruits, expectation of what is going to be for us. And instead of thinking, I've done good, therefore I should be getting good back, you do good for its own sake. And that becomes, by giving up the fruits of your actions, as it were, that becomes a very, very powerful force that you're acting not for yourself, but for the universe, for the divine at large. So you're living in a godlike state that way. That's the best way to clear karma.
Selva said, where does God come into this? Well, God is the light of the world and the universe, isn't it? It's a power, knowing power. And perhaps God tests us at times. And we're being tested every day. Would you agree?
Well, when you say the word God, I always have to say, what do we mean by that word God? Because it comes, it's a 3-letter word, but it comes with so many complicated different interpretations of what we mean by it. If we mean a man in a cloud that's looking down on us and changing the world, to me that's not a God. If we're thinking of some conscious force that's invisible, well, still that's not a force. I think of it as perhaps being an infinitive existence, the universe itself, the great energy behind existence that is both impersonal and personal.
We're all God, aren't we?
And
God's within
we are
us.
all it.
We're all
it's
God.
all in us. So that when we connect our spirit with that highest level,
oh God,
then we are invincible because we can change everything. Go on then, Jane, read the next one.
Oh my goodness. Eat another pizza, Nicaragua. That's all I can say, mate. Right. Do either of you have any messages from the spirit world to know that karma is real? Because here on earth is just a belief. Well, I think sages, saints, avatars, gurus, and philosophers, the message is all the same, isn't it, with karmic inaction?
Well, I know what you mean. It's kind of a belief system, and I think it's something you have to kind of witness for yourself.
Absolutely.
I kind of got completely convinced by it when I started going into the Nardi oracles that I wrote about in my book Messages from the Universe, because it sort of revealed my whole life. And there's no way it could have known those things. No way could it have known those things. And because I covered every possible way to stop it. And it was confirmed and reconfirmed and reconfirmed and reconfirmed through a number of sources. And it talked about how it talked in all those sources about my karma and very similar karma, and how it created my life as it is now, and how I could change that karma by doing certain actions, slightly magical actions, like doing good deeds at a certain specific time when Mercury is in this position and the Saturn was in that position, and you do the good deed at that particular time to give it superpower, as it were. So that was my proof. To me, that was an absolute proof of the law of karma that was working in my life that I could see personally. And again, I would advise people to be very, very careful when I talk about Naadi oracles, not to go looking on the web for them, because 99.9% are con merchants. But I found a few sources that were absolutely convincing, and people that didn't have access to the internet and all these things, and just ordinary villagers type people that were able to give me these messages. And it is mind-boggling. So for me, it was proven. But like all these things, you know, everything's a theory until you find out for yourself. Including mediumship. You read it, Jane, and you answer it.
I can't even say it. I don't read it. I want you to be tongue-tied.
You read the name.
No, you read the name.
Okay. Majbrit Kildengard Hansen, who's obviously Irish.
She ain't Irish.
Sorry.
Danish.
Souls like Hitler and Stalin, how should they gain balance in their karma?
Well, they're demonic forces, aren't they? They're dark forces and that. And what amazes me with these people, that people actually follow them. They got a power of memorizing people, haven't they, and pulling them in, don't you think?
Mesmerizing, yeah.
Don't you think they are? They're very clever. It's sort of like
memorizing people.
I'm memorizing it in a minute. It's looking into them blue eyes. Yeah. Look into my eyes. But they have such a power that people are always searching for God or for following. So they were very clever pulling people in, but they weren't clever on another, because that was karma. They all fell, didn't they, in the end? It all caught up with them in the end.
Yeah, but I think what Majbrit's saying here is that people like Hitler and Stalin, where do they, they go on after death? So where do they go from there? What happens to a soul like that? I mean,
they won't come back rebirthed,
in every soul, and even the most wicked souls, there is still a spark of light. In Hitler, you could say he liked his Alsatian dogs. I mean, he loved his.
He's vegetarian too.
He was vegetarian, yeah.
And he's a great painter.
Yeah, and basically, he was in his time. He was he wasn't that good an artist, but he was still.
Oh, he was.
He was a dedicated artist. So there was quite a lot of things that were quite positive about the person if he hadn't sort of had
I
bad
think
encounters at certain
I think
stages
it all
in his life.
started from his art master in Vienna, who was Jewish, and that had a hatred towards Jews. He had an obsession, if you like.
Yeah, he had obsessions from early experiences of where he had a negative view. God,
never trust men with moustaches, Craig.
But he was a man that I think he himself. I mean, I've written a lot about his interest in black magic and things like that, and with Hitler. And Stalin was very interested in psychic
and
zodiac
signs, the 13th zodiac sign.
I mean, both those men were kind of Hitler, particularly, was kind of thought in a very spiritual sort of way, but distorted, right? You know, and so he's a person of great power. But could he ever resolve and become a good person again? I think for him, it would take many lifetimes, and probably many lifetimes in negative roles. He would probably be in very subdued roles. He'd still be in human form, because I don't think we're pushed back to another level of, you know, animal existence or anything. He would reincarnate, probably reincarnate more than often than someone that would stay in the spirit realms. Or there's the lower levels of the spirit realms where we start. There's no such thing as a hell where you can't get out of, but there's sort of like lower levels of energy, you know. So don't forget to subscribe, guys, particularly if you're new here, because this channel is on every Friday at 7 o'clock with lots of other stuff being thrown out there all the time. Going to be a lot more in the future. And if you would like to become a patron of the channel, you can also help us to take this a stage further. We're going to have some guests. We can invite Stalin along, perhaps.
God, Craig,
we're going to have some seances, and we're going to be doing all sorts of interesting stuff. But that's thanks to you guys that have been helping us with patrons. And some of those ideas those patrons have been putting up, actually, I must say, have been very interesting. You've been talking about we could have a 24/7 infrared camera on the table, which you can link into, and that's something we're working on. Certainly to have cameras, and maybe
you
even
might
an infrared
catch
one
spirit images on it too.
So there's going to be all sorts of interesting stuff like that, where you can sort of see the new set from different angles with your own personal camera, to be able to look through. Plus, you know, you'll get lots of little updates. So those of you the patrons would have seen what we're doing in the new studio, and see me and Domenico, for example. If you haven't looked at it yet and you're a patron watching this, you've got me and Domenico lumping the furniture up the stairs and having a look around the place for the first time. So we're going to give you a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and you'll also get time. You can chat to me personally on Zoom there too, and we'll set some more of those.
When you go back and thinking about Hitler, it's quite a wicked man. Oh, the world could stand by and let somebody
full of negativity.
Yeah, but to actually see somebody do that to children and babies, it's
Hitler.
Evil,
and
pure
there's
evil.
many Pol Pot, all of them. There's so many out there that are dreadful, and even today. So why singing? So Karina's saying, why singing Indian stroke yoga are a healing for karma? A person from a different culture doesn't have a different option, or singing is the same of doing good actions. If I understand you, I was talking about mantras and things, perhaps she's talking about here. It's these things are not Indian. These things are universal. These things are, the truth is not Indian. The truth is not Western. The truth is not anything. The truth is the truth. And it's the same with the idea of all these different religions. You know, there's only one religion, and that's
of love.
And there's only one Godhead, which would be the same Godhead, which would be an omnipresent Godhead that all beings, all religions subscribe to. Ultimately, they just seem to sort of want to narrow it down. It's only me, you know. So some of the ideas I talk about are often Indian, because I think India's had some very ancient teachings that have survived, which also survive in all the other religions.
Well, Jesus went to India, didn't he?
I believe he did. And so all these things, so there's a universality to it. So whatever you do, any good action you do is going to do good things in the world. The techniques shown by in the Indian teachings of yoga are very powerful techniques that are not Indian. They go back before ancient times, thousands of years before even Indian culture emerged. Those things, I think, are there for all mankind and humankind. And any good thought, any good action, any good deed you do is always bringing good energy into the world, but also into your life. It's the best we can do.
That's a good one. CB. Does karma need to be resolved so you're done reincarnating?
Or does a point come when you get to the end of your karma?
Well, there must be. There's got to be. Because some believe, I think it's Tibetans or that, or Buddhists, you can only reincarnate 8 times, the figure 8.
Do they? I've not heard of that. So Tibetan Buddhists say you can reincarnate millions of times,
but
so that every
8.
animal might even be your mother.
I don't know the Taoist, what's they call it? The Chinese one.
Taoist.
Yeah. And Taoist.
But also it's an important point, because what's happening to this karma? Is it just to make our lives good, or is there a resolve to it? And the objective of all existence, and the objective of karma, good and bad, is to help us to become awakened beings.
Better people.
First, better people, but also awakened. We also
exciting people, Craig. Have you thought of that?
We actually get to a point where we go beyond good and bad, where we go beyond this duality, as it were. This is what they call the enlightenment. This is the state that is beyond thought, beyond ego, beyond all existence. The closest we can describe it is like the state of absolute being, absolute bliss, absolute love, absolute
nirvana.
Truth, absolute peace. What some call nirvana, what some call the enlightenment, which India they call moksha, the Christ consciousness, whatever you might call it. They're all this ultimate state beyond duality. So our karma is keeping us in the wheel, as it were, the constant birth and rebirth. But gradually, first, I think we escape the world and will stay in the spirit world eventually. But the spirit world's not the end of it. We still have to progress, and we progress until our hearts are so full of giving, so full of light and love, that eventually we give up personality, because it don't matter. It just become one again with the absolute of existence. A bit like salt being dropped into the water. The salt disappears, but the taste's still there. Nothing has gone. It's just changed its form into an omnipresent form.
Right.
So that's the end of karma. That's when karma finishes.
Indigo.
I get a bit too deep. You'd have a chat with them.
Oh, I'd never stop
They'll all
you
be
going.
switching off.
Indigo. I think I remember Doris Stokes writing her first Voices book about a father saying, if you've shown a kindness, pass it on. It's not yours alone. Pass it on. That's good advice. That's very good.
Yeah, Doris was good, you see. Now, I go off talking away like I've been talking here, but often it's the down-to-earth, simple things that teach us about the way to deal with life.
Just be a good human being with good values.
In fact, simple is a good word.
Simple.
Because simplicity is one of the ways to understanding truth, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you can't intellectualize all these things. You have to know it. You have to realize it. You have to know it first in your heart, and then you have to know it completely. Know it.
Well, just be a beautiful person, love in your heart, and don't do any harm to others, and try and be a good human being, and a realistic human being as well, and help, even if you gave a little money to help somebody in trouble, then it's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're doing an act of kindness.
And don't let the idea of karma get you down either, I'd say. Don't get caught in the past, for example. Okay, karma might be coming from the past, but we want to be looking back into it.
Like your karma was to meet me, aren't you? Lucky, Craig. Good karma.
Well, could be, or it might be the other way around.
I don't think so.
But the thing is, the like attracts like. It doesn't in physics, but it does in spirituality. And I think that if you do get on to a more positive thinking, I think it helps. It's kind of like when you start to free yourself of your negative karma, you naturally become much more positive in the way you think. You naturally start to attract good things into your life. All these stories about attraction and traction of abundance. You can't just will it to come to you. You have to actually change within yourself. And this is what the whole evolution of you is, about your evolution of a consciousness. You get to have more power in the world because you become more awake, you become more aware. You actually change the circumstances around you. You actually change the things that happen to you. This is when you get control over your karma.
And not
you start
to worry
to free yourself.
and let go of worry. have an attachment to it.
Absolutely. I mean, what a waste of energy worry is. I mean, that's just you using all your life force to
Mr. Life Force,
anchor yourself on the
Silver
wrong thing.
Moon, how do you get a Nardi in the UK? You don't, do you? Not
really. I've introduced a few people personally to them. Very, very rarely do I do it, and I do it all for free when I do it. If I find a spiritual seeker that I really feel I want to help, I will introduce them to the people I know. But one of the words for Nardi means to seek, and really you have to really, really, really seek and be very, very careful, very cautious, because you can go to India and you'll get Nardi readers on the airport hassling you to have a reading. Those are not Nardi readers. There might be fake readers, or they might misuse the Nardi too. The real Nardi can be misused.
It's not just about having a Nardi reading, because you've got these priests that go into temples. They have to give money, and you might find you'll have to pay, say, a ridiculous price like £13,000 and things like that.
If you do a Nardi reading, you expect to spend about £2,000. Because what I'm saying here is the reading's free usually. It should be free completely, but the remedies is what costs the money. Because you should do those remedies yourself. The original Nardis were completely free, held by the temples. They were then taken over by the British Raj and flogged to whoever had them. And the problem is, it just went to everybody. Some really lovely people, some terrible people, and they vary from place to place and person to person. It's a bit like the ring in Lord of the Rings. Gollum was originally one of the what they call them.
Having a Gollum moment.
Hobbits. God, bloody hell. He was a hobbit originally that transformed. I've got a lot of knowledge of something that comes out and falls away and come back. But so Gollum was corrupted, and it always corrupts you. And it's a little bit like that. And that's why sometimes you might even find a really good Nardi reader, and then something happens to them and they get Gollumized. I think
greedy.
So you have to move on and find someone that's
because these leaves are thousands of years old, they're like palm leaves, and the actual writing is like writing of light, invisible light, and it changes.
This is a different. This is the Jiva Nardi, which is an invisible leaf that actually shines with the message in your language. It's just in English, or it's in Chinese.
Whatever you are.
Incredible stuff. And the potty as well as another one there. And there was a metallic piece of metal that you put into the fire, and you take it out the fire, and the message is on there for you. I mean, these amazing things, but they're also open to fraud, because it's just like physical mediumship. Physical mediumship is an incredible thing, but you get so many that faked it up that in the end it became a complete, load of nonsense. Even ordinary mediumship that happens to you. So many fakes out there. In the end, you think, I think I'll join the skeptics. I give up. Because you're trying to give a message and other people fake it up. So I'm not saying it's bad. I just say you really have to search, really thoroughly search. It's not something I can just recommend someone to you because they could have been Gollumized. I keep my people I know very, very secret to myself. Okay, I really love you guys always. Oh, that's nice, Patrick.
Thank you.
Is there such a thing as a soul group karma, for example, in your family or as a collective?
I do believe that we meet certain people from past incarnations and that we're drawn to them, and perhaps unfinished business to complete it in this incarnation. I do believe in that.
I think we are grouped together by karmic forces.
Yeah,
all
I believe
that. Which you could call a group soul, or you could just call it the way we're connected by our karma.
Or a debt soul.
There'd be creditors.
Debt soul, that's a good one.
Creditors in the spirit world around.
Debt soul, Craig.
In fact, I think all my spirit guides might be creditors from a previous life.
Debt souls.
Yeah. No, but I mean, we connect by good and bad. So love brings us together because that's a force that attracts. But also maybe the bad things. If you did something wrong to someone else, you might end up marrying them until you work that problem out. What
are you trying to say there?
Not saying it's ours, but it does happen though. Sometimes your closest friend can suddenly let you down.
Yeah.
And you think, why was that? Perhaps we had good energy up to a certain point and something went wrong in a previous life. I think many of the things that happen to us in our lives are echoes of things from before.
Yeah.
They are. So That's it. We're finished. We must be. Oh no, here's a question. Can a country have a karma, or is it just for individuals?
Well, I believe it could do.
Yeah,
Because if you go all through history and we go through what's happening with this coronavirus, 100 years ago, we had the plague in London and all things. So is it karma on the earth plane? Is it karma? Because it's like a cycle. And like, are we eventually going to go back to the Ice Age? Is it karma?
Yeah, I think there's karma collectively. And they do say that certain nations, all nations, will carry the karma of their ancestors.
The ancestors are important.
I mean, you think energy sort of persists, doesn't it? All energy persists. And just like we talk about psychometry, why not the energy of a nation continues? We talk about the spirit of the age as well, don't we? Of the period we're in. And we talk about the spirit of a country. And that must have good and bad results, you know? I mean, and each country, I think, ultimately is good and bad. I mean, you can look at the British history and you can look at it one way and say, oh, it was a terrible thing. It did slavery and all the rest of it, which is true. But then on the other hand, you can look at it and say it brought democracy. It brought the Industrial Revolution. It brought the modern age, you know, and you can look at any nation and put good and bad to it. So I don't think the karma is necessarily good or bad. It's more like the personality of that nation, I think, that might persist. And maybe negative things that have been done will come back in equal kind, you know? So, yeah, so who knows? Hi, Jane and Craig. Sarada Ma, the wife of Saint Ramakrishna, said that you cannot escape your karma. She says, recite the name of God, do good deeds, say your mantra, and help the
That's
poor.
very true.
Absolutely sums
Very
it up perfectly,
true.
Sheena,
Very
actually.
true.
Absolutely. She was a really interesting lady too, Sarada Ma, I remember. And Ramakrishna, fascinating guy. Actually, he broke every rule in the book. He did. He danced with the goddess, you know, and danced with Kali and things like that. You can't escape your karma, that's true. But we can nullify our karma, and things like, particularly, like Sheila says, this is what I hadn't actually brought up. That's very important. And this is, it said it in the Bhagavad Gita too, that you recite the name of God. Now, it doesn't have to be an Indian God. You know, you can choose whatever form or whatever you, like I said, what is God? Okay, you've got your vision and version of God. And each person may want to objectify that some way in a form of a Godhead. So a Christian God. So, for example, someone reciting the name of Jesus, that would be just as powerful as someone's reciting the name of Krishna, or whatever. It's just as powerful, because as long as your heart's in it, it works, you know. And all religions have, you know, you could be Allah, Allah, Allah. I mean, that's just as powerful. But if your heart's in that, if that's your path and that's your direction, that's fine. And you don't have to necessarily buy into the religion either, actually. You want to go beyond that and think about the Godhead, beyond what religious people tell you. You've got to always think for yourself. Find your personal way in. And one of the best mantras of all, which I think transcends all of them, is the mantra Om, which is the Indian mantra, you know, Om. But it's very similar to Aum, which is also very similar to Amen. You know, so all of those are versions of the universal A-U-M, Aum, or O-M, Om, or Amen, A-M-E-N. So all of that is a mantra that anybody could use, and many, many others too. Which
say 108 times.
108 is a magical number. What you think is the purpose of the Nardi? Is so we can clear our karma quickly.
Well, it's a teaching, isn't it?
It is. It is really to do that. It is to find out your faults, ultimately, to find out what's going to go right, but what's going to go wrong. So that's why I say it's a powerful thing, and how to correct it. So it's not like getting a reading where you get nice, comforting things that are told you. It'll tell you things like what you're going to get ill with that you can't avoid. What age you're going to get that
when illness, you're going to die,
when you're going to die. So, you know, if it says, I know someone, for example, recently had breast cancer, and it told the Naadi told them the exact time they would get that breast cancer. So what that person did, they did the remedies and they still got the breast cancer, but it was cured quickly and easily. But the Naadi said if they hadn't done the remedies, they would have died from it. So that's just one example. So you've got to be, it's a steely path. It's not something you can just sort of offer to the public and just want everybody to take it, because it could really mess some people's heads up. And that's why I say it's a path of searching to find your karma. And if you don't do the remedies, you might as well not have the reading, because it won't come to pass. It won't come to pass in any way. It's because the remedies weren't done, therefore it fritters away. Ramana Maharishi, someone brought his Nardi to Ramana, and Ramana said, no, nothing to do with it. Don't need it, you know. And it did, everything up to that point was correct. And after that point, his life went on a completely different path, because he felt, his attitude was, an enlightened man doesn't need these things. You see, so it's a tool like anything, and it's not an answer necessarily.
More nickel card.
Yeah, well, good on you though. Without the Naadi, what's a way somebody can strengthen their belief in karma? Well, I don't, not belief. I hate that word belief. I don't think we should have any beliefs at all. You know, you should reject everything. Even I say, even me, you should reject the ideas, because you've got to find out for yourself.
That's right.
So I think you're kind of thinking, how can I prove this to myself that it's a true thing? You know, how do I know if it's true? I don't know. I mean, like I said, for me, I personally, I had so much experience of that. I don't know how you can do it, really. How would a person do that?
Well, you've got to find things up yourself.
How can you prove it? Because, like he says, it's just a theory. Okay, it's just an idea. You know, why should we take that on board as an idea?
Well, I could answer that. You eat an awful lot of food, and you're like this, and then your karma is, I really want to be a thin person, but this is an image that I'm making, and suddenly you become that thin person from your own making.
Well, that's your actions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your actions can choose what you want to be.
Yes, but every action is accountable while you're on Earth, and your karma relies on that.
Yeah. I think everything we do creates a result, and those results we can see in our lives.
It's like Nicola, you get people who might be against him, threatening him and things like that. That's not his karma, how he should be dealing with it. And the best thing is to rise above that, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think you've got to think about, observe it in our lives. You know, our lives
Observation.
Observe our lives, observe what happens to people. And I think you do eventually see karma coming into the world, you know, and good people ultimately win out in the end. And actually, I think good karma ultimately will take us to the highest we can possibly attain.
There's an old saying, isn't there? Sort of an old wise saying, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
And I think when you get to a certain point, you get to a point where you transcend karma. And I think the enlightened person just looks at the world and sees the world differently, and just sees it all as the unfolding of karma.
Beauty.
And I think with higher perception, you can see that it's just karma unfolding. And anyway, so there's some thoughts there and ways you can, you know, think good, be good. That'll change everything. Feed people and be compassionate. Like Niccolo Avocado was saying about you know, why should people starve in the world? Go and help people, you know, and do some good in the world. And I think it will change your own personal karma. But don't do it thinking I'm going to change my karma. Just do it, and we'll get remarkable results.
Let it happen.
So we're on the last questions now, guys. And yeah, if you like this, don't forget to share this video, because particularly on Facebook, it helps us to get the message out there with these ideas. If you believe in what we're talking about, if you think this is interesting, share it for goodness sake, and share it with all your friends. And your friends will start coming in and joining it, and you know that you'll see your friends asking questions and things. And if you really like what we're doing and you really want to help us with what we're doing, become a patron. It's all in the description below on the YouTube channel. You'll see it on the Facebook description there too, I think. Go and join the patron page. You can give a small amount every month, and it gives you access to all the behind the scenes stuff. And depending on what tier you buy to, you can also get Zoom meetings with me. But it's not so much about what you can get, it's what can you put in? Can you help us with this desire to make this channel really move forward, and also help us with, like, we got the media center now, and eventually a spiritual center, so that we can get the message out there. Because I think we're trying to, you know, give a bit more of a sensible view of spirituality. And although I'm a bit crackpot and my medication's beginning to wear off a bit at the moment, I think we do try to talk a bit of sense. So please support us.
Gosh, Craig, you get worse.
Okay. So, and also Domenico's saying there about, you put up the one about if you want to share your experiences, because we will be having some guests, and particularly if you live local to us. We're going to be based in Winchester for this, Winchester in Hampshire. So, you know, if you can get to Winchester, we'll have some guests. So if you've got something interesting to share, you know, near-death experiences, things such as unusual experiences, you might have something interesting to talk about. You might be a well-known person that wants to is prepared to have a chat with us, and maybe even have a reading with us live on screen. We're here, and we've got a special place where we can do all that.
And seances.
Join in and be able to come and join in our seances. Seance is a scary word, but it's more like communication with the spirit worlds. And don't forget my books, of course. So, of course, I've got my new one out, Secret Dream Meanings, at the moment. And if you want the Nardi stuff, go and look at my books. What's it called? Messages from the universe, Mystic, and also Mystic Journey to India. And also on Amazon at the moment, you can always go and watch, if you're in the UK or America, Mystic Journey to India, the movie, which I think.
What's your other book called? How to Dress a Crazy Man?
Yeah, Spend Your Way to Debt is my new one.
Oh God.
On a lighter note, what's England's karma for the finalists? Is football coming home or Rome? Well, the Domenico will disagree with me, but I think England are going to win it. I said they would win 2-1, but I didn't publish it. But I said they win 2-1 against Denmark. I think we're going to be in another sort of
there you are, Craig Karma.
2-1 again. I think we're getting
Was
another 2-1.
Was it 1966 the last time they played?
The last time they had a really big sort of match, it was the World Cup sort of thing. Yeah, but so I'm not a great fan of football, but I think it's great that it brings people together all around the world, really, sometimes. So yeah, wish them well. You know, I think if I said Italy would win, I'd be in trouble. I'd be in trouble, wouldn't I? Yeah. I thought it'd be quite funny if we got Domenico, and you and me and Domenico, and we all, and although none of us really like football, we could do a sort of goggle box thing with us watching it.
I'm not really,
have it up in the screen.
I'm not really interested in that.
Have all the moaning about it.
I'm not interested in football.
1-1 till the 90, 2-1 for England in the 107. Okay, that's Domenico's got his little bit in. I think it's going to be 2-1. England will win.
Yeah, I hope so.
I don't really follow football. You remember we did that thing before with the football, where
my idea with
all those
boats.
mystic things. I did a whole thing on TV about how
done a mantra over
football boots.
Yeah, you got it through though, didn't it?
I said the girls had to sew their eyes up, didn't I? Because
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was because it's bad luck for a woman to look on a football. There's a lot of superstitions with football that are very good. Thanks, you guys.
Oh, thank you, Judy.
Do for the universe.
That's sweet. I put these glasses on. Thank you for the wonderful video. Have a fantastic weekend.
Mani Paddy Hum.
Yeah, thank you.
Chants.
Yeah. Namaste, namaste, nana.
We decided that was from Manchester, didn't we, that chant?
Yeah.
Sorry, no. Thank you, Craig and Jane. Great show.
Thank you.
Yeah, you enjoyed it. He didn't put any of the negative comments up, does he? This was a load of rubbish tonight. Are you going to borrow the round table from the cathedral? That'd be a good idea.
King Arthur's.
Yeah, King Arthur's round table.
He borrowed it from us in a past life.
Yeah,
he borrowed it from us in a past life.
When we saw Sarada Ma, Jane said to me, he said, we knew each other in a past life. And Jane said, yeah, and you owe me £5 from that. You owe me money.
Holy man. He just
I appreciate you both so much. Grandparents I never had.
Oh, thank you.
Grandparents.
Can't we be an auntie and an uncle?
Thanks for all your contribution too again. Great show, guys. Looking forward to the first show from the Spiritual Centre. Yeah, hopefully soon. It's coming up. It's going to be good. Yes, all thanks to you, Nick. Thanks for introducing me to Craig and Jane. Yes, you did. He brought a lot of people, Niccolo Avocado. Some of you watching this now, go and look at his channel. Look up Niccolo Avocado. It's hilarious. He's a brilliant actor and wow, brilliant presenter. Fantastic stuff. It make you feel hungry when you watch it too. So yes,
it made me feel hungry.
England 2, Italy 1. Yes, what I've said. You're copying me, Domenico. I'm probably going to get it wrong, and I'll blame him.
Thank you. Very interesting topic.
It is an interesting. I
meditation
could talk
chamber.
about it for a long
Yeah.
time, because there's lots of other implications we've not brought up here.
Patrice.
Great chat. Thanks for that.
Patrice.
It'd be nice to have some guests to talk about with this type of topic. Sheila, for example, you make a brilliant guest on our show, wouldn't you? Thank you so much, Craig and Jane.
Well, perhaps
Really
you can.
enlightening. I'd love to hear more about the Nardi. Yeah, I'll talk to you online actually, Sheila, when we next do a
Namaste,
Zoom on
Heather.
the patrons.
Hello to Heather.
Namaste.
Craig.
Hello, Heather. Namaste. Heather actually helped us a lot in the shows.
She's a great person and a
Domenico's
friend.
still in the process of editing it, because it's a massive, great job. But we did the show,
Concord.
and Heather's was brilliant helping with the sound.
You couldn't do it without these guys.
No, it's the volunteers that make it all work.
I must get you Phantoms on Film book, next Ghost on Camera, all good stuff.
Yeah, Phantoms on Film's not bad. It's not brilliant, actually, to be honest. It's not the best one, but it's quite interesting if you like ghosts and things like that. If you like the one, what was the other one? Psychic Protection's good if you've not read that one yet. Yeah. Enjoy the weekend,
You too,
Jennifer. I just
Jennifer.
put someone off that told someone my book's not that good.
Well,
I'm going to plant another fruit tree this week. Yeah, right. Avocados, I hope.
Oh, you've got some in the garden.
Cool, slightly older cousins. Yes, that's better. Not grandparents.
No, we don't want to be auntie and uncle.
Best mates, I think, when I was a kid. Thank you both, says Elaine. Thank you, Elaine. Thanks for joining us. Of course, people are coming here from both
Karina.
YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for your words, but seriously, you need to have a TV show. Best thing to reach everyone. I know. And we've had our TV shows and we've had our series in the past, but frankly, they distort it so much, and there's so much rubbish out there. You get some producer that suddenly decides, we're going to change Craig and Jane, we're going to make them different. You know, we'll have a wig on Craig and we'll have Jane dressed up as a fairy or something, you know, and you end up thinking, oh, you know, and you can't get the message
Won't do
out.
it anymore.
Frankly, I'm fed up with TV. I don't mind. I'd do some TV, but, you know, it'd have to be done the right way, and it never is, you know. Nightmares Decoded was a very good program.
Alison's saying, love channel.
that.
Hope you have a lovely evening and lovely weekend. Lots of love and hugs from Alison. Same back to you, Alison, too.
Yeah, and Spirit of Diana was a pretty good program, I thought, too. So it looks like we're coming to the end now, I think. Yes, we are beyond our time even. So we're going to say goodbye to everybody now. So thank you for joining us. See you at the same time next week.
Same
Bye for now.
place, same place.
Namaste and
Love
whatever.
from the heart.
Would you like to know more about the paranormal world? Craig Hamilton Parker's books are now available on Amazon. Explore the future. Discover what happens after death. Unlock the secrets of your dreams. Learn to develop your own psychic skills.